Peace to everybody out there. Hope everybody's doing all right. Hope everybody had a good week. I wanted to do this part 2 of the Wizard of Oz series. I was supposed to do it last week, but wasn't able to. And I try to do stuff when I'm inspired to do stuff and do lives. Peace to everybody out there. Miss Rebecca, what's up, brother? Real JQK, how you doing, bro? Good to see you. But I wanted to speak again on the Wizard of Oz, and how that movie has been very powerful. How that movie, if you look at it, can really help you to observe some of the things that we may be going through personally, on a personal level, the different challenges as the group went through the Wizard of Oz scene and plot. So I know before I started, went through a brief synopsis of the Wizard of Oz and Dorothy, her challenges before she was transported to the different world of Oz, meeting up with the Munchkins and the Good Witch, and then meeting the Scarecrow and dealing with his situation of the brain. People doubting him, thinking that he was less than because of the job he had, watching out for the garden, keeping so-called pests and animals out of the garden, and how he felt that people thought that he was less than, not smart, not intelligent, not able to think on his own, not having the self-image of people needing to tell him everything he needed to do in life. But I wanted to go back before Dorothy went in the tornado, as you remember. She went and talked to this fortune teller type guy, who we know at the end ends up being the Wizard of Oz, but kind of like a con man type person. And he brings up the typical thing of these fortune tellers. He gets a picture of Dorothy and her family and her aunt and all of them, and kind of puts 2 and 2 together that she was running away. And then he says something interesting. He looks into his crystal ball and talks about the times of Osiris. So again, they bring in Kemetic history or Egyptian history. When you look at these movies, a lot of these producers and movie directors, they know quite a bit about our history, and they will inject different things, different ways of thoughts, different theologies within their movies, and kind of let you know some of the knowledge that they've gained from African traditions, specifically in Kemet, or Egypt as we call it. So I found that interesting that he brought Osiris in. He said that name of a powerful leader in Kemet or Egypt. But I'm going back to the Scarecrow. Dorothy talks with the Scarecrow, and he tells her his plight in life, and letting her know that he didn't feel that he was worthy. And at the end of the conversation, after all of the singing and dancing and all that, he asks her, can he go to the Wizard of Oz with her? Dorothy's trying to get back home, and he believes that the Wizard of Oz, can give him a brain. And we all know that he had a brain, but again, and we see it here in society as well, that certain groups of people are told that they don't have brains. They're put in specific types of jobs generationally of not having the opportunity to make decisions on their own. And if they are allowed to make decisions, a lot of times their decisions are second guessed, and their final decision is not ultimately used. Or if it's used, it's taken by someone and said that it's their own. So we can see that, and I know I've seen it throughout my life. I'll have a great idea about something, and the next thing you know, somebody else is using your great idea and taking it as their own. Like I said, this movie has a lot of parallels. I know I've seen it in my life. But going on into the next character that we see is the Tin Man. And where did we find the Tin Man? We find the Tin Man in the forest. He was apparently a lumberjack type of character, type of person. He worked in the woods because they found an axe in his hand. But he was bound up by rust and being left out in the elements, earth, wind, fire, water. All of these things, he'd been left out in the environment and not taken care of. His creator didn't give him the proper maintenance. And we see that as he's stuck and bound by rust because he got caught out in the rain, caught out in the elements without any protection in any way of maintaining himself and keeping himself in the proper condition. And you can see this as well. If you don't maintain yourself, if you don't know how to maintain yourself, you can find yourself locked in a rut, in a place where you're not able to work. You see, the Tin Man wasn't able to talk. He was at the mercy of whoever came by and wanted to help him or didn't want to help him. And as we see, we don't know the backstory of it. It'll be interesting to read the plot. I did read a little bit of it tonight, but I didn't get back into the specifics of the character because, as you know, with scripts, a lot of times they have a long plot for these different characters and kind of builds you up to the person or the person of that character and why that person acts. He or she acts the way they do in the specific motion picture. So that would be interesting to see why the Tin Man ended up in that situation. But he wasn't able to talk. He wasn't able to move. He was bound. And we can find ourselves in this type of situation as well if we're not careful. If we're not connected with the Most High. Connected to the correct people, the correct circle of people in our lives that can help us maintain ourselves and likewise help others. We can find ourselves bound up and at the mercy of whoever comes by. And a lot of times, that person that may come by to help you may not have good intentions. Luckily for the Tin Man in this situation, Dorothy and the Scarecrow wanted to help him. He was trying to talk. We see that in the movie. It's funny, but it's very serious, man. This is very interesting. I found the Wizard of Oz very interesting. He was trying to talk. He was mumbling, but he couldn't talk. But he was able to have enough strength to try to communicate, okay, I need oil, I need lubricant, then I can start moving my arms. I can start moving my head. I can start moving my mouth, my eyes. And luckily, though Dorothy and the Scarecrow was able to help him, they found the bottle, the can of ointment of oil, oiled his elbows, oiled his knees, oiled his mouth so he could talk. That oil, that substance, in our lives and in my life that I've seen can be knowledge, where you're able to talk from wisdom that a person can give you. The ointment of life, the truth of life. You can be lubricated and helped out by this type of knowledge and type of substance that can help you get out of that bind type of situation where you're rusted and you're able to actually get back to your means of motion, able to move your hands, your mouth, able to think. But as the Scarecrow, he not only was binded up by rust and neglect, he felt he didn't have a heart. He beat it on his chest, made out of the tin, and we know we always hear that echo. And he thought he didn't have a heart. He didn't have feelings or emotions to a certain extent. And again, he talked with Dorothy. Dorothy is kind of like a conduit of getting to this character called the Wizard of Oz. And again, she encouraged him, you have a heart, but if you don't, maybe the Wizard of Oz can help you. So they go through their whole singing thing and talking, and the Tin Man expressing himself, the things that he had been through, and why he was in this state. And it's very important that you continue to build yourself up. Don't allow yourself to be binded by anything. Seek the truth in everything. And if you don't know something, continue to do the best you can to search out that truth. And it's been my experience that you will find it. It may take days, may take months, may take years, but eventually you will find out that truth. And some things we never will know, but the intention is to find out the truth and pass that truth on to others. And not thinking that you're better than somebody because you found the truth, but it's a privilege, because not everybody has eyes to see and ears to hear of different types of knowledge. So when the opportunities come, it's your responsibility, just like Dorothy did, to encourage and to say, hey, that we might know it might be a person that can give us some answers. So it's very interesting. And after they oiled him up, all his joints got mobilized. He started seeing his functionality coming back. He was able to move around. He tooted his little horn out of his hat. He started to feel like himself again. He began to get his strength back. And you'll see, I know I'm not the only one, when you come into the contact with people, you come into contact with the correct knowledge, because not all knowledge is correct. I think all knowledge is good to a certain extent, but not all knowledge is beneficial to you. So you have to be careful with that as well. But he was able to get his functionality back, and again, Dorothy said, hey, come with me. You all are my friends. We'll get down and try to find this Wizard of Oz, the all-knowing, from what they knew. So they continue down the road, and the next character that we find is the lion, which is interesting. The lion was there in the jungle doing his thing. He at first scared Dorothy, the Scarecrow, and the Tin Man, because as they said, the lion is the king of the jungle. But to come to find out, when he really came against conflict, he cowered out. So they call him the Cowardly Lion. And you can do that as well. All of us has been in that situation where the conflict comes in and you cowered out. And that shouldn't be. But it's still a part of life. All of us may have to deal with that type of situation. But I think the situation with the lion, and if we're not careful, we can find ourselves in this situation having a lot of pride and not being true to himself. You gotta be true to yourself. You gotta know who you are, whose you are, and what power you have, and stick by that. And I think at some point down the line with the lion, he didn't stay true to himself, or he may not have been taught. So again, that who you surround yourself with and the type of knowledge that you try to gain can hurt or help you, and find yourself in a situation in a weak place. The lion was in a weak place in the story, and he needed help again as well. So you saw the Dorothy hitting him on the nose and him crying and all of that stuff. And again, this about knowing your worth. The lion didn't know its worth. He had gotten off his path of his kingly status. And we have kingly status. A lot of our bloodlines come from kingdom. We're supposed to be kings and queens. If not out in the society at large, at the least of our homes, husband and wife. Husband being king, wife being queen, children. You have to know your position, kings and queens. And we should be raising princes and princesses to come up after us. So it's very important that we stay on course and not be led off of into different paths that takes us out of our mission to be who we're supposed to be, kings and queens, princes and princesses. So like I said, I find this story very interesting. The characters really embody, I think, life. And what it means, the different challenges that you come through. If not, in a year, you may be going through these things weekly, but we should be learning from them. And after we learn from them, teach that knowledge, that positive knowledge, to someone else that we see and have the opportunity to teach. All of our lives are connected somehow. And back in ancient time, many of the cultures connected together and communed together. And we all can learn from all the cultures around the world. It's very important that we study all different types of cultures and continue to challenge ourselves to get better every day and to do the best that we can with what we have. So I'm going to be continuing this series, The Wizard of Oz. This will be the part 2. And then we're going to go on through all the way to the end. I just wanted to get the 3 or the 4 main characters, and just let you know how I felt and how I feel these characters parallels in my life, and I believe all of our lives. These different challenges, different emotions that they have. So peace to everybody out there. Continue to strive for perfection. And even the scripture said, the Christ said, go and sin no more. That's a deep scripture and something that I've been pondering for a while. Having life, having it more abundantly, and going and sinning no more. So y'all ponder on those things, and I'll be back with part 3 of The Wizard of Oz. And pondering the key to life is knowledge, the correct knowledge, gathering all knowledge, but using the positive knowledge to change the world. All right, peace.